So I wanted to create a Singapore brand that has based on Singapore food to make it into a Singapore icon, but it has a philosophy that is about Singapore's heritage as well. I chose Ang Ku Kueh because Ang Ku Kueh, in Chinese culture, it means red tortoise cake, right? So red means good luck, and tortoise means longevity. So I thought that would be a very good cake to represent Singapore. I think life is sweet as our tagline is something that can resonate with everyone. Because life is sweet when you overcome bitter moments. That must be something about resilience, about perseverance that I hope is a universal value that everyone can recognize and identify with.
As a character, the fun jump from digital to physical is how do you interact with something, right? So I think the tactile experience is very important for plush products, and emotional attachment you have to a plush toy as a child is very strong actually. Like I remember all my plush toys when I was a kid, so I hope that in like 10-20 years time people will have their very old dirty plush toasties as their chow and they'll remember the happy, warm and toasty feelings they had since they were young.
Hey Coconuts, I'm sure you're familiar with our friends WorldFirst. WorldFirst is an all-in-one business account that fuels your business growth worldwide. And yes, they have been fueling TFC. I've used it myself. So WorldFirst have allowed me to open up a multi-currency account at zero cost and no fees and no minimum balance needed. So they have a new product which I'll share with you more later in the podcast. Meanwhile, if you want to check them out, link is in the description below. And yeah, welcome back to the show. Let's roll.
Welcome back to day 3 of the TFC Business Show live at FL Asia 2025. My name is Dawn and I'm your co-host for today's panel where we're going to be talking about a really interesting topic with some characters that you might or might not recognize. And joining me on today's panel is my co-host.
Hi, my name is Judson, the occasional co-host on the business show, and doing duty today and helping Dawn understand the world of merchandising and IP characters.
So on this panel, we have 2 characters that you might recognize. The first is Ang Ku Kueh Girl.
Hello.
And also Tasty Toasties, but we'll let them introduce themselves to you.
Hello, I'm Shijia. I'm the founder of Ang Ku Kueh Girl.
Hello, hi, I'm Chanel. I'm the creator of Tasty Toasties.
So for those of you who are not aware, Ang Ku Kueh Girl is a very iconic Singapore character, and you might have seen it in a lot of the SG60 stuff that have been going around. For me, I actually volunteered to host this panel because my kid recognizes Ang Ku Kueh Girl, and we've been seeing it at places like Changi, Esplanade, and basically around Singapore. Tasty Toasties, some of you might also know, especially if you were from the crypto world a couple of years ago, because Chanel, you guys started as an NFT, right? Tell us about your story, because yours is like a new age kind of journey. Yeah, can you share with our audience what was the story of Tasty Toasties and how did that come out to be?
Sure, I think it was like 4 years ago that I started launching it as an NFT project, and the idea back then was always also to create the physical character merchandise, just that I learned about NFTs, then I was like thinking to myself, that's a very interesting way to test whether or not people resonate with the artwork before I make physical products. So it's now been 4 years since that journey, and we have evolved into a full range of character-based merchandise.
So when did the NFT collection launch? Because that was the first fundraising, right? And many people use that to go on and build their businesses and do other stuff.
Yeah.
How did that first round of funds help you and your business?
Actually, I think the biggest takeaway from that was the confidence that I could start my own business, because I have never done anything like that before. Yeah, and I didn't make that much because some NFT projects, they made a lot because they had millions of resales. Mine, I just sold the complete collection, and then there was no further, there were very few further sales beyond that. So and then I left my money in crypto, so like I lost quite a bit of the revenue that came from the NFT sale actually. So most of the business today has been rebuilt using just normal like using just a portion of it.
I think the character over there is one of the first 5 characters, is it?
Yes, so this is the main character, Burnt, and the first 5 characters, they are just like with no clothes. So the clothes is the food.
Well, why burnt bread? Why bread itself?
Why toasty?
Yeah.
Makes you feel warm and toasty.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
just like the word toasty. I think it's a cute word. Yeah.
Well, I also read that when you first launched these characters on NFT, it didn't really track that well. and then you tried a second time, then they started to go viral or people started to buy. What was the difference between the first time and the second time?
I think the timing, because crypto and NFTs were very speculative, so just a short few, like I can't remember exactly, 2 or 3 months between the different launch times made a big difference. And also I think we lowered the entry price because it was fluctuating a lot due to it being pegged to USD, like because it was being sold in Ethereum. So honestly, it was mainly market timing, just that because like when the first launch, right, that week, the prices were just like this. So people were not in the mood to buy like NFTs. And then the following time that I relaunched, the market was like that. So just the small difference made a big change. The other thing was also, I think in between the 2 launch periods, I had gone to the US a couple of times. So there were more people in the US who knew about Toasty at that time. So it helped because the Singapore market, when I launched, was not very into NFTs yet. I think only a few months after my project sold out, then many bigger Singaporean projects came out, and by then I cannot compete with those big companies.
So has it always been a lifelong kind of passion or a dream to actually create characters out of your mind? You must have imagined characters, and then it just happened that NFT gave you this channel to launch it into the world. Like, since when did you start to conceptualize Tasty Toasties?
Actually, it was my lifelong dream to start a business called Toasty, but not the characters. Because I like the word toasty, and I thought like I would want to sell bed sheets. Because like you feel warm and toasty in bed sheets. Yeah, like I feel comfortable, like I feel safe at home. So that was the brand origin. But selling bed sheets in Singapore, honestly, not
It's tough.
very, very difficult. Yeah,
I think
like so warm.
it's easier to do the characters.
Yeah, I
than-
like to wear like big oversized things, sweaters, feel warm and toasty, but it's so hot. It's like the wrong country for this. So it was actually like learning about NFTs that gave me the inspiration to be like, oh, okay, let me just turn it into characters, because it was like character driven, and then it kind of just keep growing from that.
So Shijia, was your origin? I don't think your origin was the same as Chanel's one, right? Is it to provide comfort, or is it to convert Singapore heritage into something that can be popularized around the world?
Yes, when I started this in 2012, I wanted to create a unique Singapore icon actually. Because before that, I was using like Singapore elements like red, white, stars to make accessories like earrings, necklaces. So after a while, I thought there's a market for actually Singapore-based designs and culture. So I wanted to do something that's more sustainable and has longevity. So I thought a character brand would do the trick. So I thought, what kind of things do Singaporeans like? We like shopping, we like eating. So that's where the food comes in. So in terms of what kind of food do we look at, I chose Ang Ku Kueh, because Ang Ku Kueh, in Chinese culture, it means red tortoise cake, right? So red means good luck, and tortoise means longevity. So I thought that would be a very good cake to represent Singapore, because after all, we want to say life is sweet. That's my tagline. So life is sweet after we, especially after we overcome bitter moments. So I wanted to create a Singapore brand that has based on Singapore food, and to make it into a Singapore icon, but it has a philosophy that is about Singapore's heritage as well, our spirit of overcoming difficulties to have a sweet life, so to speak.
And Shizia, I think you are like the OG in this space. So honestly, a lot of people, including the students who are exhibiting at FL Asia this year, would look up to you, because you started over a decade ago and you've successfully brought Ang Ku Kueh Girl to so many different places. Partnerships with government agencies, stat boards, tourism boards. Tell us a bit more. How did you go from just a character? Because I read an interview you gave almost 10 years ago. And at that point, you said like licensing was not yet on your mind, but later on, and now you're like the OG in licensing. So how did that journey look like for you?
So when I first started, I actually made products first. So for me, it's a bit different from what Chanel has done. I started with products because I wanted to make my own products for sale. Because that time, when I started, nobody knows who Ang Ku Kueh Girl is, right? So when we got so we go to markets, we try to tell people who Ang Ku Kueh Girl is, what she represents. So after a while, I was also thinking, because we're selling things over in different departmental stores, attractions, landmarks and all that, the gift shops basically. So after a while, I was also thinking, because we constantly have to put in new products, there's always pilferage, leakage, things are spoiled. And I spend a lot of time, instead of creating, I'm spending a lot of time on the logistics. So after a while, I think that's not efficient use of time in my opinion. Because when I quitted my job to do this, I wanted to do the creation to bring the make it a Singapore icon basically. So after a while, we stopped making merchandise. We went and coincidentally at that time, WhatsApp allowed us to upload our own stickers. So we created our own app, our official sticker app, and we have Ang Ku Kueh Girl, sing different lingo like Alama, this kind of lingo that people can recognize and they use in their daily conversations. So we have our stickers, and the stickers went viral. So from the merchandise physical part, we went to a digital realm. So, and that's where people know about Ang Ku Kueh Girl. And because they know about us, it was actually easier for us to get licensing business. Because when people know about us, the corporates actually approach us on their own to do projects with us. So I would say the branding part makes a difference for my brand, for my Ang Ku Kueh Girl. Because instead of going to people knock on doors in a tedious fashion, we create a brand that people know, and that's when the corporates come and look for us to collaborate together.
Right. And I guess one question would be, when you move into this licensing space, how do you know how much to charge, especially as they were coming to you? So the clients, on the other hand, would know the market and the supply demand economics, but you being new, especially since that happened quite some time ago, there aren't as many Singaporean IP characters to reference and ask advice from. How do you figure out that whole business model, and where, or how high, how low, how do you negotiate?
Actually, when I came into this licensing business, or even a creating business, I know nothing. It was really ground zero for me. Because I came from an investment background where I know nothing about the whole business at all. So I just come in with a passion. I want to do something, make a Singapore icon. So how do I charge, right? I would basically say it's a trial and error. Because I know nothing, so I just charge a price that I thought I was willing to put in the effort. Even if the client comes back with many changes, it's a price that I'll be willing to accept and to work on the project. Because after a while, when you accept a project, you want to do the best you can. Even if the client is difficult, you still want to give your best and do a good job. So I would say it's a trial and error process. And when we give a quote, we give what we think we are happy with. Of course, there are people who, as we go along, we can then increase the price. And when you increase the price, you'll know also to a certain point when, if a lot of people approach you, but they don't eventually do a project with you, you know that you're rich. Maybe the market is around there. That's when you get the gauge. So as I go along, I adapt. So sometimes I may do this and that, increase or decrease, but it'll be all around the same range. But I want to say also that because there are projects that are close to my heart. Like for example, when the Team Singapore Women's Softball approached me to do a design for them for their fundraising, because these girls who play softball for our national team, they are all either working or studying, so they are not full-time professionals in playing softball. So when they approached me to design Ang Ku Kueh Girl playing softball for them, they wanted to pay me, which I said, okay, it's okay. I will do it for you, FOC. Because I also want to support our national athletes in their dream to make Singapore proud on the global scene, you see. So when you say we charge, there's of course when we approach corporates, people who can pay, I assume, we will charge them. But for people who we want to support for a noble cause, it will still be FOC.
One common challenge that many starting designers or art students face is that they get approached by clients who ask them to do for free. And they say it's for exposure. So because you're already an established brand, then the exposure is not as necessary. But for a student who is still starting out, or a starting designer trying to build that visibility, what would your advice be to them when they get asked with this kind of collaborations?
It's something I think all of us artists, the creative field have experienced this. So I would my point of view is that it shouldn't be free. Even if you want to charge a low price, there should still be a price. So it cannot be absolute zero. It must be something that is still reasonable. You're still paid, although you're not well paid, you're still paid something. So for exposure, yes, to a certain extent, if you are young and you're starting out, yes, I think you can afford to do a couple of projects in that way. but don't make it a habit, basically.
You got a second business owner in this past week who told me that do not ever do things for free. You should actually charge $1 even if you have to, because it's a psychological thing that if you charge, then there's a certain value to it, even though the value is low. But it tells the client that you are worth something rather than you are free.
Yes, unless it's a cause that you believe in. Like for World Vision, I also helped them before, so it's making a set of comics for it, because they're helping children in Mongolia to raise raise funds for food and shelter and all that. So things that I believe in, I still would do a cause.
So unless you frame it as like a CSR
Yes,
thing,
yes,
but
it is.
everything else is then commercially driven,
Yes,
that's
yes.
a value.
Yeah, I want to talk about design because both of you represent two separate routes and both of you come from two different periods in time. One is pre-NFT, one is NFT. And Ang Ku Kueh Girl is very Singaporean, whereas Tehi Tosi is quite international, right? And design is not something whereby you draw this, and then you put the eyes there and then it resonates one. So maybe I will start with Chanel first. Right? When you design, what principles guide you in creating characters that can make a kid want to hug? Because there is a subtle difference on.
Okay, so for Toasty, the huggability is because it's very, like, honestly, my biggest cushions, they're all very squishy and the material is very soft, so it's very tactile. And many times when I hear like people walk past my pop-up booth or I hear customers talk about it, they pick it out and they're like, oh, so soft. So that's where I know I've got the right formula down, because the inspiration was warm and toasty, right? So I actually went, before I made the first plushie, I went and looked at a lot of bread plushes in the market, and I felt they were all very thin. Then I was thinking, the best bread is fat. It has to be the fattest plush there can possibly be. But just now what Shijia said about logistics and dealing with all the operations, then I realized why people don't make big fat plushies. It's because of the shipping weight. Like small little details like that. But I was willing to compromise on the cost and make like the biggest plush. Even at the beginning when I didn't have the much financing for the inventory, I was like, no, it has to be like big and fat. That's where it will like hook people in. So my first series of the big cushions, they like when people saw the price tag, they were like, oh. But then when they touched it, they were like, oh. So I think that makes a big difference. And to what you say about it being international, that was one of the considerations when I started doing Toasty. I decided that if I ever had an opportunity to bring this to other markets, like I love Singaporean food, like, and toast as kaya toast, but in every other culture there's a variant of toast or bread, and people know what bread is. So there was another like double potential that I saw with the Toasty. And one final thing is, I think some designs, they have like they embed certain elements on the whole face, but it was a conscious decision to purposely leave like this entire belly empty, so then I can put different things on it. So the proportion is like 1/3 and then 2/3 space left for other things in the future.
So your proposition is very tactile. It's a
As a character, I think the fun jump from digital to physical is how do you interact with something, right? So I think the tactile experience is very important for plush products, and I think we'll see a lot of character brands at the end of the day, they do have a core plush SKU, because that's how you bring it to life. It's like 3D, it's not just like a 2D print out. And then I think that emotional attachment you have to a plush toy as a child is very strong actually. Like I remember all my plush toys when I was a kid. So I hope that in like 10-20 years time, people will have their very old dirty plush toasties as their chow and they'll remember the happy, warm and toasty feelings they had since they were young.
Hey Coconuts, I'm very excited to introduce you to the latest offerings from WorldFirst. WorldFirst is an all-in-one business account that fuels your business worldwide. Their latest product, the World Card, is a multi-currency business card that allows you to get unlimited 1.2% cashback on all your business spend. If you use it on Meta Ads, Google Ads, ChatGPT, Salesforce, and more, you get additional benefits. Of course, subjected to change, terms and conditions apply. But more importantly, if today you are looking to start your business, whether it's in retail, e-commerce, or B2C, WorldFirst is your partner. Check them out, link in the description below, and back to the show.
I have to say when I record on TFC, especially at in our old office in downtown, right? We had the Toasties cushion over there, and it was always my choice. If you look at the earlier episode, I either had it on top of me or behind me. That was like my go-to cushion.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah, so the first one was extra stretchy and extra
and
plush.
it's very like when you press down, it's this.
Yeah, it'll go in, right? Because I was like, yeah, the bread must be like fat, then we touch it go in. Because when you bite bread, it goes like that, right?
What about Shijia, when you, because this is a very local look, when you think about internationalization, how do you modify? When you design, because you have your own university, and by the way, my favorite characters are the Gem Babies.
Oh, thank you.
Because just as a side story, right, my favorite Japanese brand is QP. So I like babies, in general. Then the Gem Babies is like a local version, and not to say they're like QP lah, but in the same league, that kind. So when you design your entire universe of characters, right, with a Singaporean root, how then do you design for internationalization? What was the thought process?
Firstly, I wanted to create a Singapore brand. So you have to start from a Singapore basis. That's where the cake comes in, right? So I hope that when people come to Singapore, tourists come to Singapore, they must buy an Ang Ku Kueh Girl bag with them, or when any of their friends are the Gem Babies, for example. Also, that being said, right, because even though her outlook is Singaporean or Singapore inspired, because she is a sweet kueh. I think life is sweet as our tagline is something that can resonate with everyone. Because life is sweet when you overcome bitter moments. That must be something about resilience, about perseverance that I hope is a universal value that everyone can recognize and identify with. So in terms of, it's not just, for me, it's not just visual or element. It's really what you feel inside, your mental, your spiritual, the values that you feel for the girl, and you can identify with what she thinks. But here, actually, all of our products, our plushies, right, have a card. So inside, it says, we hope that people will keep her beside you to as a nudge to remind you that you can experience life's joys when you overcome its toughest moments. So I think that's the philosophy that we want to do, that we hope can go universal and reach the global market.
I want to ask, right, because I read that aside from Ang Ku Kueh Girl, Gem Babies, you have other characters as well. Ping Kueh Girl and Chi Kueh Boy also have like some childhood sweetheart love story ongoing, which is quite cute. But to most people, they recognize Ang Ku Kueh Girl, at least for me and my kids. How do you feel as like the mother of the other characters that they're not getting as much of the limelight? And is there a way you have to, like, what is your plan to try and bring them up? Or is it all along you want like one main lead to bring the rest of the family through?
Yes, it was always intentional that we have one main character. So the rest are friends. I mean, it's not that they are sidekicks, but there must be a main person in every story. And if you identify with her, then maybe if you don't identify with her, for example, you may like some of our friends. But at the end of the day, the story still falls back to her because she's the spirit of the whole universe there.
And because each of your character has its own story, I'm assuming that the story actually protects your IP. Because anybody can create a pirated version of it, but the story, because it's rooted in with you and with the character, therefore you want to copy, you also cannot copy lah. But actually with Chanel, it's a bit different because the overall look and feel of a plushie, even though your proposition might be tactile, is very huggable, right? When we look at the international landscape, let's say Jellycat, for example, there are similarities and they are going crazy with all the experience pop-up stores and everything, right? So when it comes to internationalization, I know just now you mentioned about creating different bread versions for different countries, right? Are you able to share a little bit of when you think about internationalization and going deep into new markets, emerging markets for your business, how do you intend to compete with the giants like Jellycat?
Right. So I think I might have misunderstood your earlier question because it's not just about the plush. Actually, for the Toasties, there's 5 different variants and different personalities. So they each reflect a different mood. And regarding internationalization, there is also that storytelling element. Like we recently started doing animated content this year, and we just opened our USA-based TikTok account 4 weeks ago. And because we started doing animated content twice a day, since March. So when we started 4 weeks ago, we were able to post them twice a day. And in just 4 weeks, this morning, I think, before I came here, it was 89.7K 89,700 followers. So my team and I were just like, okay, hopefully we can reach 100K this weekend. Like it went viral, I think, in like week 2. So I'm quite happy, and we are adjusting our content as we go along now based on what are resonating with the American audience. And I'm just very happy to see this because I've been posting content for the last 4 years in from Singapore. And for some reason, I haven't been able to get that reach that I'm starting to experience the last 4 weeks. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. Because something changed with the TikTok algorithm recently. People who have been SMEs, like who have been posting for the longest time, suddenly they one day just woke up and then that specific post became viral. And then I'm on LinkedIn. I don't really do TikTok one. So I experiment with LinkedIn algorithm, but I don't know. What do you have any observations thus far on what would be the ingredients in a post that will make a TikTok post go viral?
Actually, it's the same content that I have done, but I've been posting from my Singapore account. My two guesses were, my hunch was that my phone is from Singapore, then maybe they see you're from Singapore, they don't immediately push out, or the account is very old or commercial shop account or something like that. Because for the US one, we bought a new phone and someone is posting from within the US, so maybe that is making a bit of a difference. And I think also the cadence of how much we are posting, because we already built up our content bank for a few months, so now we have enough to just, when we started new account, we just immediately 2 times a day. Maybe that sends a good signal to the TikTok gods. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, we can't, at this rate we are going, we might not be able to keep up twice a day anymore. We might be finishing our 5-month bank. But from here, at least we have so much feedback now, like which characters people really like. Because previously I had feedback from within Singapore, and also tourists who are shopping in Singapore, but I've never really gotten a chance to tell the toasties stories. I always have to tell them, read the story in the hang tag, but like no one necessarily opens the hang tag to read. But now we color code the toasties based on like the burnt one, the background is pink. Then the milk one, she's very shy, she's very scared of everything. She has purple background. So I think over time, people are gonna start to notice like, oh, this character is like this personality, and then hopefully they will have some favorites coming out from it, and then we can align our product strategy together with the stories. Previously, I was just like focusing on the products first because I need to build this into a sustainable cash flow business for myself. Otherwise, I can't just put free art out there and then I got nothing to eat. So yeah.
I want to ask, because just now you mentioned you have a 5, I might have heard
5
it wrongly.
toasties, yeah.
As in your content story bank for TikTok, about 5 months worth of supply of
animations, yeah.
Do you use AI to? Will you use AI to animate?
No. I have my design team. So we have our in-house animator.
So is it a designer's principle? Like, I swear I'm not going to touch AI. Everything is going to be by human beings.
That's not necessarily true, but from the AI tools that we have been experimenting with, it's not precise enough yet for the animations. And you can tell when it's AI versus non-AI. Especially we can tell. So but I do use AI in maybe like the voice, because I don't want to voice the toasties. So yeah, maybe sometimes the voice of the music, we might use AI for that. I also cannot voice the toasties. I have a Singaporean accent, so it will not work. But I think if AI tools do become more prevalent, we may still try and use it. I think it's adapt or die, right? But at the end of the day, it can only go so far. I think there still needs to be a bit of a human flavor to edit. So I think AI will help to shorten the process, but not necessarily replace the whole process.
And both of you have actually chosen to go down very different routes for how you build your business model. You have chosen to work with partners and a lot through licensing. You decided no more merchandise or not as much. Whereas for you, you're still very much big on the whole retail merchandise part, and you don't do as much licensing or partnerships yet.
So I would want to do licensing in the future, but like what Shijia said, rather than go knock on their doors, build a brand where people will come and find you. And that was something that I realized like maybe after a few months of first starting. I was like, oh, nobody even knows who I am, they're not gonna care. So I just gotta go do my own thing and wait for people to find me, which is kind of what has happened from the handful of partnerships that I've managed to get in this time. But of course, I hope that like she really paved the way, like, you know, I don't know what other big Singaporean characters there are that I often see being licensed. So yeah, hopefully one day we have that brand recognition to be able to do that.
Baby steps. But Shijia, what about you? Will you ever go back into merchandising or like maybe pop-up stores for some of your characters?
Actually, this is my first item after so many years. That this is my first one I'm selling it myself. I did this mainly on a smaller scale, mainly because I have long-term fans, right? Basically, I'm building a community of people who like Ang Ku Kueh Girl. So I also want them, and throughout the years, they have been talking about, hey, can we have a blush kind of thing? Do you have a blush and all that? So I've been thinking, maybe I should do one for my long-term fans, for them to really have something to hold on to and really sleep with. So this is finally, I did this for the past 2 years. Going back and forth with many different suppliers. I think some people, because of the small scale, people don't even want to do. And because there's a lot of details, because like this is a plush, right? He has actually a small plush, with a small plush on the top of her head. So there's a lot of details that actually a lot of factories don't want to do because it's very tedious to do such a complicated toy. So I finally found someone after trying many rounds to find someone who can work with us and was willing to work with us. And after doing that, we also went many rounds to make it look like the 2D girl that I've drawn. Because when it's 3D form and 2D form is very different. So we do as a artist or designer, we really want your 3D work to look like your 2D work, right? So we have to be patient and work on it. So coincidentally, because now people like the plushes, right? So the time that we launched just happens to be the same. But actually, we have been working on this for a couple of years already.
You know what will be your next one? Gem babies. Because they're easier to produce, I think. I think because they are not as complicated in terms of
Yeah,
design.
they don't have another plush on top.
Yeah.
Although the hair is the special part of the jam babies.
Yeah, and actually, I've been observing the local Singapore market, right? One indication that you guys are actually succeeding is I see quite a few FMCG brands producing their own version of plushies. When it comes to seeing such I won't say copy and paste, but I think learning from
Inspired.
you, inspiration, right? Do you take it as a form of why you copy from me? Or do you take it as a form of, okay, I'm paving the way. I just treat it as flattery. I'll design it in such a way that you cannot be inspired further. There are two different kinds of thinking when people see this in the landscape.
I think I honestly, I see it, but I feel like it's just trend based, so it doesn't really bother me because, and also most of the time when they do it, the quality it's a gift with purchase or purchase with purchase. So when you touch, it's not necessarily the same.
It's not huggable as as
or like the size. Not say, but honestly, some of them are very, very cute. And if it's a keychain, it's okay. But at the end of the day, those characters, they are for that short-lived purpose. So like FMCG is not going to continue to invest in the stories of those products. So they are just products. So it doesn't really bother me because for me and some of my core, like the top fans, like they will say like, today I feel like burnt, or like, oh, I'm so like multi-grain bread. Like, they actually relate to and remember the personality. So I think it's honestly very different. Yeah.
For me, I'm not bothered actually. Because anybody can make an Ang Ku Kueh toy for Ang Ku Kueh plush, but nobody can make an Ang Ku Kueh Girl plush.
Correct.
I think that's the difference because we're making her into a girl. I'm not just making you pop. This is Ang Ku Kueh cake. So Ang Ku Kueh plush, for example. So that's where we have given them personality, like what Chanel has said. There's personality to it. It's not just cute, you see. There's another side to the plush or to the character that we are giving to each of our babies. Yeah.
Can I jump in also? Because I am a consumer and I do pay for these stuff. I feel a lot of the times it's the relationships. Like I could relate to Tasty Toasties because the cushion really very nice for when we are recording. And then I like Ang Ku Kueh Girl because my kids love it and I just think it's such a good, example of Singapore culture and heritage. I also recently bought a lot of plushies of a certain viral trending bubble tea brand that everyone knows what it is and starts to see. And actually it's all because of the relationship. Because I realized a lot of the FMCG brands, they can create their own, right? And yes, like what Chanel said, it could be cute. But if the consumer doesn't have the relationship with that brand, then why would I want to give it free space in my cupboard to let everyone who come to my house see? But it's a different story when I put, let's say, or like when Reggie puts the cushion on the table or on the seats, and or when we feature Ang Ku Kueh Girl because like I'm Singaporean and my overseas friends come, or like the bubble tea because this is my favorite bubble tea brand. So I think there's a bit of difference there, but I love how you guys have kept emphasizing throughout these episodes, especially for newer creators, that it's all about the branding, it's about the relationship, the backstories of the characters. I think that's what the newer folks should also focus on.
Yeah, so I think the business of creating characters is a three-step process. One is the design itself. The other one is giving it a story. But the third one is continuing the story. Just as how she has a 5-month story bank, she's creating her own animated series, right? And then you are creating your own universe. And Ang Ku Kueh Girl has her own siblings and friends. I almost said boyfriend, but I don't think so. I don't think you brand it as boyfriend.
Ang Ku Kueh Boy is the brother, is
Yes,
it?
yes, the
Brother,
younger
brother. Which comes to my maybe the final question, right? Because just now I was talking to Dawn about clientele. Like, for your client base, right? Are they mostly ladies or do guys also buy from you? Because I am totally clueless to this industry. You know, I mean, I know about your existence, but I will not purposely go and buy and hack lah. But I don't know. I might be wrong.
I would say most of my fans are ladies, but you know, if I have a set of stickers, sticker apps, right? We mentioned. Actually, there are guys who write in, they actually wrote in to say, can we have more boy stickers? So actually, we have in recent years we have created Ang Ku Kueh boy stickers and even curry puff boy, roti prata boy. So although the demographics are more ladies, there are still guys friends who appreciate the use of such stickers.
Because every Chinese New Year, the what are the
Yeah.
always appear. I only can use that one.
So yes, we for Chinese New Year is a very good time for WhatsApp stickers actually, because people send a lot of the messages to their friends and family. Yes.
For me, big proportion are ladies, and I would say actually the male fans, they are also collectors of plush. So yeah, so there are a few, and because we have blind box series, so I think I have 2 series of blind box plushies at the moment. So I have captured, I think, some of those who are also like pop mart or blind box collectors, and some of them are males. So they also like bread. And the funny and the most interesting thing to me is actually many young boys like the toast because they find it very funny. So they will be like, Mom, I want this toast. And I have like occasionally like some parents, they'll send me pictures of their kid with the toasty bag on their the toasty keychain on their bag, and then all the kids saying like, this is my emotional support toasty. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think maybe not adult males, but like young boys, because they're like, oh, I love to eat bread, so they want to buy the bread.
So maybe a lot of meals come from collecting. The intention is a bit different than like to collect and buy rare collections or from your collection, right?
I think because I have different product ranges, so it depends. Yeah, for like the bags, mainly ladies, but I do see guys buying and using the bags also. Hard to say, but yes, biggest proportion is more ladies.
Maybe we should ask this question to the audience as well. Let us know in the comments if you guys actually buy or engage with these plushies as a male, so that Judson can have his burning question answered. But if not, thank you for tuning in to day 3 of our very first live stream. And if you are a budding creator trying to break into the IP scene, we hope that Shijia and Chanel's stories have actually given you some inspirations and paved the way for you and the next generation of IP artists. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you shortly for the next live stream. Bye!
Bye.